Here I am again. If some of y'all have been holding on here to the end, good for you. You've got endurance and stamina, and I like that because I do too. That was completely unplanned. I forgot I plugged that shit in already. Anyways, you deserve a reward for all that hard work you put in. So I'm going to circle back to the beginning and tell you about the Dishonesty Philosophy again. Well, technically for the first time, because I never got around to it the last time because, well, you know me and that undiagnosed ADD, because nobody cares about me. Anyhow, I did want to come back and elaborate on that when I could organize my thoughts. What's that word? Collate? Collate my thoughts? Cocate my thoughts. That kind of gives a different impression than what I usually intend, which is to make everything about Kate. I'm just kidding about that, because if you actually knew me, you'd know that nothing is ever about me, and I don't even give a shit about me. So that's why 2025 is the year of left sway. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about the dishonesty philosophy and how I've gotten so much more dishonest in my mature years here. These last 3 years I've been finally maturing. I was on pause for the last, 18 years of my life. No, that math doesn't add up again. The math ain't mathin' again. But that's just to confuse y'all about my age, not because I'm dishonest. Except I am, though, and here's the point. The dishonesty philosophy is, something that I've generated for myself, this notion that, how do I put this? The dishonesty philosophy is based upon two principles, which is first, that honesty is both subjective and relative. It is both personally defined and unique to each individual. No two are the same. And two, that honesty is both a responsibility and a privilege you gotta earn. We'll start there because I think that one's a little easier for people to understand, and that should bring them in to hold on to the first point where I might be able to elaborate a little further after y'all have had a chance to adjust to the way I communicate, which is often in metaphors and riddles. Why you gotta go and make things so complicated? Yeah. 'Cause you can't spell complicated without K. Whew. I'm getting into things. I'm warming up here. I'm still getting over the weather I was just under. I'd like to start figuring out who I'd like to be under. The shit that just flows out of this mouth. And the things that go in. Stop it, stop. Okay, reset. We're gonna start with the fact that honesty is both a responsibility and a privilege. If you expect to receive honesty, you must first demonstrate honesty, and that requires emotional and ethical integrity. And that's about doing what's right. It's about understanding your needs and wants in conjunction with those of external sources around you, their needs and wants, and you have an ability within yourself inherently to regulate your own needs and wants in accordance with others, whether or not those others are around to witness or judge. And you're going to act in accordance with the way you have defined for yourself as acceptable behavior, and that's based on the way society has molded and shaped you around that. That's what they're supposed to do. It's not necessarily a nefarious thing. But we have our values imprinted upon us, and we're supposed to learn over time because of those around us teaching us how to behave for ourselves with integrity, whether or not anybody's ever going to find out. Until you can demonstrate that completely for yourself, you can't expect it from anybody else. You will, because you haven't fully embraced the manifestation of a higher order of personal conduct. And you can't judge others upon a baseline standard that you yourself don't meet. You keep striving, though. I think I gotta stop fragmenting myself so much, or I'm not gonna let the free form direct me. So I'm gonna try to just flow some more. This might be where it's appropriate to hit the weed. Have y'all went and Googled iambic pentameter yet? Brownie points if you have. That would be an interesting way to start a conversation with me instead of, hey, show me your pussy. Pay attention, fellas. It's not hard. You open with something like that? Hey, I Googled iambic pentameter. Want to know what I found out? I'll probably show you my pussy and you wouldn't even have to tell me to. Show me your pussy. Not even a, hey, could ya, please, maybe? I'd really appreciate that. Go Google iambic pentameter while I'm gone. I could have done it for you, and my Google would have told you in the time I was gone. Okay. What were we yapping about, Sway? We're on that dishonesty sway today, y'all. That's all a personal decision because it's all based on your moral code, moral compass, if you will, and you decide which direction you go. Do you stay true north or you let that sucker spin? It's all up to you, and it's real powerful when you accept that instead of just spinning. Where was I going with this discussion? The dishonesty philosophy and the principles. I have to repeat myself a lot so I get back on subject, and then it just keeps me on that wheel spinning, swaying. All that being said about it being, what did I just say? I know it was the second principle. Oh, it's a responsibility and it's a privilege. I was just talking about how it's a privilege because you can't expect it from anybody else. So, well, you can't expect it from anybody else until you've mastered it for yourself. And that's an individual and personal discussion. It's an understanding you have to come to for yourself that you're going to hold yourself to that standard that was set for you, that was molded for you by your family unit or society or whoever guided you, whatever guided you. Maybe it's your own moral compass. Because I had to set that for myself after a lot of years spinning. Once you've determined that for yourself and made the decision to do that for yourself, then you can start raising that bar of what you expect from other people. That's why it's a privilege. Based on your acceptance of it as a responsibility, you owe it to yourself as much as to those you bring within your sphere of influence. It's a matter of respect, and that starts with self-respect first. I don't really get to preach on a lot of this stuff because I haven't demonstrated a lot of it, but at least I understand it for myself now, and I'm trying. And still learning too. That's why I've passed that test, and that's my first, qualifying criteria. I've proven that I can tell the truth. I've held myself to that standard. I think everybody when they're young is a little shit-faced liar because you don't understand all the dynamics of it. You're not very convincing because you don't know how to put together a good story. But once you learn that honesty is within your control and you're responsible for whether or not you choose to exercise it or, well, face the judgment and criticism of others, because you don't. It's a choice. Everything is. Once you make that choice, you own it. So you have to be proud of it as your possession. You gonna claim that? It just made me think of Norman Reedus. He's an outdoor cat. Thinks he's an indoor cat. That kind of segues a bit into the whole, well, the first principle, that honesty is both subjective and relative. Meaning that it's defined differently for everyone, defined independently for yourself, and that changes in different circumstances depending on who you're interacting with. Because ethics determines who we need to engage with and therefore how much honesty they're owed, and vice versa, because all relationships evolutionarily are transactional. That's the point. We're a social species. We use one another to further our independent chances of survival. Big picture, folks. Evolution is the playbook for human behavior. Honesty is a great responsibility because what comes with it is great power. You understand you are in control of the circumstances, how much information is at play. And information is the most important thing you can possess these days. Pause for effect. And to elevate the discussion. You get to design it for yourself, so make sure you're proud of what you build. But know it's great power, so keep those cards close to your chest. And really consider who to trust with your information. Once you've embraced honesty as a personal decision, you recognize it's a personal decision for everybody else out there who's talking to you. So you got to consider the source, where it's coming from, that information you're basing your decisions on. It's a two-way street, y'all. So always consider people's motivations. What do they need out of this transaction? Just as quickly, I'm going to ground the discussion. With a personal example to demonstrate. I gotta bookmark this shit. I know it's mostly because I'm sick. And that nasal decongestant probably just opened up all the capillaries and such in the sinuses and taking it straight to the dome. But this stuff has knocked me the funk out a couple times now. Devil driver, that makes sense. No wonder I declared I have met my match, but certainly not my superior. No, sir. Matter of fact, that's a great segue to this part of the discussion. That personal example from my past I was talking about to help ground what we're discussing. My match. The match that made me a champion, a fucking queen. Warrior queen, indeed. I'm certain I have the warrior gene. I don't need a DNA test to tell me. What were we talking about? Oh, the match that made me. Control, power. Consider the source and their motivations. What information is being manipulated and rationed and withheld. I can't get too deep into this, y'all. I'll get stuck spinning that track with no exit ramp. Honesty. And why it's a personal choice to define it how you will and enforce it at your will. Or not. It's all up to you, but be prepared for the consequences. You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. That's what Grandpa Phil would say. That's a whole other inside joke we aren't going to talk about today. Very controlling person in my past. I've come to realize that that control was about them, not me. But boy, when you don't understand that, and particularly when you've been drowning your senses for what feels like a century. All right, get out of poetry's way. Stop it. I have to use some of these tools to get me through difficult stuff. And focusing on something in like a rhythmic kind of way is, well, the way I've come to think, mostly because of music therapy, but then it also keeps me going and not getting deep into emotion and self-destruction. Once you define it for yourself and you accept the power that comes with it, that you get to choose how much you stick to it, well, then you're responsible for making those choices independently. And I've always considered myself a person of ethics, and I've held myself to that standard on many occasions. And I realized that because I fell into the path of addiction and, strayed away from my moral compass, my moral true north, I've had to earn my way back from that by demonstrating my integrity. And I've done that, absence of anything else requiring that of me or judging me about it. I've held myself to a line I have drawn in concrete, and I have pulled up a lawn chair and sat there at that line and waited for everyone around me to meet me there. And I sat there alone, waiting for far too long. But I'm going to jump out of that metaphor so I don't get too deep into it. I had an individual in my life who controlled everything. From the jump, should have seen those red flags. Ladies, I'm going to tell you some of them. Trying to teach me how to do things. Not like how to skateboard. Teaching me how to do things like load the dishwasher, do the laundry, wash my hands, wipe my ass. Literally. How does someone instruct you how better to wipe your ass other than to watch you, observe you wipe your ass, and then critique you about it? But let's get back to that not so dirty stuff. a very controlling person who's very controlling about stuff like laundry and dishes and how to wash your hands. Trying to teach you all that when you're 30 years old. And I say, no, thank you. I'm a grown woman. I know how to wash my hands. Learned that before kindergarten, so I wouldn't be the weird dirty girl who doesn't wash her hands. But someone requiring you not only to do things. No, I shouldn't say that. I was not allowed to do things because I couldn't do them to his standard, but I was critiqued, judged, criticized, scapegoated, outright degraded about the fact that I was lazy and did nothing around the house. Everything I touched was wrong. Or I should have done it differently. Or let me teach you something. Pretty soon you just hide. And then, when you're all the way backed into a corner like baby that nobody should have been putting you in, you're still being barged in on and barked at and charged about everything you're doing wrong. And when are you gonna get the fuck out? But that individual had these rules about how to do things, and one of them was wash your hands before and after you do everything. Because of course that obsessive shit is what everybody is supposed to be doing. Certainly in your house. But that's okay. Little old drunk fuck up me. Just okay. Teach me how to do things, Daddy. But the worst part, the part that really pissed me off, was the asking about it all the goddamn time and expecting honesty. Did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? Oh, you did the laundry. Awesome. Did you wash your hands? Literally just like that. Literally. Oh, I see you've done something wonderful. Did you wash your hands? And all he needed me to do was say yes. But I held myself to the standard of honesty. Oh my God, honey, I'm so sorry. I forgot. I'm going to go do it right now. And then, if I ever offered to do anything again, here, let me walk you through the steps again. Little old drunk fuck up me. Maybe this is how people do things. How would I know? Nobody ever fucking showed me. This one's getting a little long too. I should summarize real quickly all the little fucked up shit, because that's not the important part of the story, I guess. Maybe that's the story part of the theory, and that's what I'm trying to summarize quickly. Essentially, someone tries to teach you how to do elementary things when you're an adult, trying to really get your bearings on the world for completely legitimate reasons. You're overcoming a huge obstacle in your life, addiction. And you need stability and foundation, and you don't need somebody, well, hyper vigilant over your every move, trying to shape you into something that conforms to what they need from you. And then masking all that abuse with, I love you. I'm so proud of you, honey. I don't want to. I don't want to think about it. I've blocked all that stuff out. That's not what's coming out right now. It's very confusing trying to figure out what's your way of being in the world and what society expects from you when you're in the world, and then having somebody in there trying to pull the strings in whatever direction suits things for that person, because inherently they're so selfish, they don't even consider that you're another human being to be considered in things. And I'm over here trying to figure out how to do life and do people and do me with somebody else all invested in their own self-interests, and me as an empath not understand. I sound like so cringe when I say that. I sound cringe when I say cringe. I'm trying to relate to the youth of the world, and I just sound like a cringy millennial who is trying to be a wannabe. Stop it. Stop it. Don't use it in normal discussion, only when we're doing our humorous bit. What was I talking about? Damn. I called myself an empath because I was trying to like give a general idea of myself in a real quick flow of things, and I sounded like an idiot. So it threw off the flow of things. What I was trying to say before I fucked it up is that I'm here as my own new budding person with my, fresh set of standards for myself, and never really seeing appropriate behavior my whole life, and then demonstrating all of that negative shit myself, now trying to adjust and redefine and hold a true north. I'm not understanding that there are people in the world who will manipulate and use others to their own benefit and not care at all and have no conscience around that. You don't understand that until it happens to you. That's why you stay in it, because you don't recognize it for what it is if you've never seen it before. It has to get to a certain low, a rock bottom, if you will. But y'all know my theory. No, you don't all know my theory on that. Y'all are going to have to come check me out on some other forums if you want to know some of these riddles and metaphors I'm speaking in. I confused myself again. Anyways, it has to get to a certain rock bottom for you feeling some kind of way about what's going on around you to finally start looking outward for information, because you realize somebody else is in control of it. And you don't like how that makes you feel anymore. You've hit rock bottom and it fucking hurts. That's an oversimplified version, but everybody's rock bottom is different. And, well, I endure. I have an enduring soul, and it is my nature to stay, because I have that true north and that ethical integrity to hold myself to that standard. I get to decide what honesty is, and when I answer yes, and what your question really is. Because when you ask me if I washed my hands, what you're asking me is, did you follow my rules? Did you do it the way I asked, or rather expected? And I've decided for myself, the question should be, have you done it up to the standard we've decided? Or rather, up to the standard we've decided is up to you, hun, since you're doing the work. And you are a competent human being who can set that standard for yourself. And because I love and respect you, you can set that bar for yourself and hold yourself to it. I wouldn't be with somebody below that standard. I'm proud of that. I've decided that when you ask me if I've washed my hands, that's what you really mean. So I get to say yes, because honesty is subjective and relative, according to me. And if you can't respect that, then you don't respect me. That's the dishonesty philosophy. Y'all will call me an angry feminist, and that's fine, but until you have somebody lording over you, picking at your dead corpse like a fucking vulture, just preying on the supply, the food supply coming from you, that putrid fucking carcass, already dead, you're now devouring. Every last little bit of control is power, is food for your 365-pound bully ass. And that shit weighs on you as much as those 365 pounds do on a mattress on the floor. And there is such thing as asphyxiation by crushing. It's just a matter of time when you can't even scream for help. Yet I was never scared of him. A couple times, though, I was certain I was going to die. And he'd just tell you it was because I was fucked up and being delusional and mentally unstable again. Baby was just drinking in a corner. And that motherfucker didn't think I was far enough back in it. Essentially, once you've proven to yourself that you can hold yourself to your own standard, you realize that's power. And when someone has manipulated you into questioning your own standard, and furthermore, your ability to set your own standard, to decide that for yourself, you're willing to go to war for that, whatever that means to you. And the power that you have in it is your ability to determine what is honesty and who deserves it. Because information is power, and if you have enough respect for yourself, those cards are yours. You hold them as close to your chest as you want to, as you've determined you need to, because those are your cards and nobody else's, and you owe nothing to no one. You have to consider everybody's motives in everything. No matter how much somebody tells you the truth, it's always subjective. Anyhow, I think in summary, that's the reason why I've gotten so much more dishonest as I've measured. I didn't mean to say it like that, but I've recovered. 6.5 years, y'all. I'm still recovering. But I'm putting my foot down, drawing that line in concrete, and holding myself to the standard so I get to determine what is honesty and who deserves it. And you know why? Because some of you can't handle the truth. That was a terrible impression. I can't do impressions, y'all. I'm not that kind of comedian. But bonus points if you can name the movie without having to Google it. There you go, guys. Freebie. Another conversation starter other than show me your pussy. Can I see your sexy boob? Send ass pic, please. Please, 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 please. New chat every time. Y'all are crazy. Watch 10 seconds of me speak. I've given you 5 things to talk about with me. Come on. I realized I've been snappy chatting way too much shit for free. Y'all know I'm on a love budget. Come on now. Y'all do have to come check me out on YouTube sometime. I'll get around to posting some of these discussions. Now I'm not sure what you're going to find, but don't go looking for my OF. That's a fucking joke for sure. That's probably my best one. Not everything on there is adult content, folks. I think the statistics are about 2% snot, and I'm some of those. I was trying to get a little spicy, though. I just wasn't prepared for how spicy it was. It's like lava in there, motherfuckers. I just want to kick my legs in a hot tub, maybe. 333, what's up, Daddy? How you living? He'd appreciate that joke. He's up there laughing with somebody about it. I consider myself not even a comedian, just a humorous philosophist, I think. This is some elevated shit. You gotta really stick with it. Have some endurance and stamina if you're gonna circle back again. Because I'm the GD Moon, y'all. That's a metaphor I haven't explored yet, so we're gonna skip past that one. Come back. What were we talking about? The dishonesty philosophy. When you're mature enough to realize you are in control of your own integrity and how the rest of the world views you in that regard. Those consequences are up to you, and you hold yourself to your own standard. And when you've done that enough, myself included, you don't let anybody take it from you, that power with the information that is yours. I'm not saying you get to all out, manipulate and deceive people. I'm saying you get to exercise your personal judgment about what information others are owed. Therefore, you can expect other people to match the bar that you've set. And it's not that you get to determine whether or not they hold themselves to the standard. You get to determine whether or not they have any influence in your sphere or even a place in your life. And that is fully justifiable, and you own that, whatever the consequences. And if you're a Sag like me, you cut ties professionally. That was a little cringy again, calling myself a Sag. I'm really not into astrology, but I do think it is kind of cool, and it generally is kind of spot on with some things. But it's not really surprising if you consider humanity is still a part of nature. And all of nature is based on the cosmos and the universe and how it developed our living structure. We are subject to all the same forces of the universe and everything also that is man-made. So in a nutshell, the dishonesty philosophy is based on 2 simple principles that, one, first and foremost, honesty is both subjective and relative. It individually and personally defined and enforced. And 2, that honesty is both a responsibility and a privilege. You must first hold yourself to a standard that you've set. And once you've done that independently and demonstrated your personal integrity, then you get to hold others in your sphere of influence to that standard as well. And if they don't meet it, see ya. Don't circle back, y'all. And that's power too. So hopefully all of that clears it up about being more dishonest than in my youth when I thought I owed everybody everything if they needed it from me. They have to earn it first. The show ain't free. Brownie points if you know where that came from. That's a little more obscure. But I know at least one bruh out there who remembers that one. You know who you are. All right. I think that's it, but I kind of don't want to be done. It's snowing out. It's all gloomy. I guess I might need to go check in for my dose of validation I need now. Running short. That was anticlimactic. Kind of like my dating life. I was going to say love life. But y'all know my theory on that.